we go.
Boy reviews.
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
We are on episode 5, or technically episode 13, called Vikarna. And Vikarna is the second oldest Kaurava and the only person to stand against the Shir Haran of Draupadi. How many words can I mess up? For immorality. And this is so he's the second oldest and the only person to stand up for morality. And so in this episode, and I love this episode. I absolutely loved episode 5. I was holding back the smile when I was mentioning that I cheated, and I went ahead on our last stream. And there's so much that goes on in this episode. But basically the connection, and this is, again, I'm getting this information from the meaning of the titles from GQ. I think it's India GQ. And this is written by Varutika Shah. And this was published in September of 2019. And so they say that the Guruji is what they think maybe is the Vikarna, according to Dilbagh Singh. So Dilbagh Singh is the father of Sartaj, and he tells Sartaj at one point that the Guruji is Vikarna, but the website says that they think it's Sartaj and Ganesh because they both eventually will see the immorality in the Guru's plan. And they claim that in this episode, they feel like both of them, especially Ganesh, when he was Ganesh, when he was hearing the plan, they felt like he was already having a problem with it. In this episode, you have Ganesh, and the Guru is telling him, we're going to control lovemaking, and it's not going to be this of the flesh. We're just going to accept it for what it is. And we see Gaitonde there with another guy, and he just seems completely at peace with it. I mean, I was just telling them how Gaitonde in this episode is definitely drinking the Kool-Aid. And that whole lovemaking scene, the whole orgy scene, I guess we can call it, it kind of took me to The Witcher a little bit. I was like, man, this is crazy. But I mean, this Guru, he's just got all these people convinced that he knows what's best for him.
Yeah, that was a weird scene for me. Like, I did not expect that out of Gaitonde, but it is what it is. It's was the creative I guess the creator of the show felt he wanted to take him there just to show how much Gaitonde has been convinced by this Guru that he is the way, he's following him, how much he's bought into this cult. And somebody with a personality even as flashy as Gaitonde can still be manipulated and can be he could basically be what's the word I'm looking for? I can't. I can't.
Brainwashed.
There you go. Can be brainwashed. You know what I mean, dude? But it's one of those situations, man, where I'm watching this like this doesn't really fit with his character. You know what I mean? But they did. They went for it. I was shocked at how easily he just basically gave the actress a pass who
Zoya,
set him up.
Yeah,
Zoya a pass simply because Jojo asked. He said, all you got to do is ask. If you ask, as long as you ask, that's good enough for me. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? She almost got you murked, man.
They have a relationship that I'm not going to try to act like I'm so smart to understand. I don't fully understand that relationship because it's definitely love-hate. It's more love on his side, definitely a lot of hate on her side. She acts many different times throughout this season like she can care less about him. And there's a few small glimmers where she actually shows herself, and you think, okay, well, maybe it's just a facade. Maybe she does like him to a certain point. She acts like she can't stand him whatsoever, but she comes to him very vulnerable. And he's in such a Zen-like place that he just completely, I just mentioned it before you came on, completely forgives her. And to me, that shows that he personally, I feel like he is humbled by everything that's gone on, that he was stuck in his life, that he wasn't getting the notoriety he was wanting. And so he was willing to turn his life to the Guru and do whatever he was saying to do. And he was going to fully commit. And even though I don't agree with joining a cult, I have to respect the commitment that he has because it's not easy to commit to any one thing. This episode has a lot of interesting stuff with the ashram. And then as far as the ashram story goes on, we hear about the Guru's plan at the end. his plan for nuclear war and to destroy, not really, I mean, maybe the world, but the focus in India and destroy, what does he say, like 80 million people or something like that? So many lives, because he says we got to reset, and the world's a dangerous place. And the world is a dangerous place. The world is a crazy place, but it's also not a hopeless place. And so they're listening to that, and he tells, because he knows that this is a big pill to swallow, he tells his followers that are in the room, if you want to go, you can freely go, no questions asked. And so they do, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, he actually means it. And then you got Sartaj's father, who's in between here or there. He's on the fence. And then you see Malcolm get up, and he goes out the door. You already know what he's going to do. They're not going to go free and easy. I mean, they made the wrong choice. And so Dilbagh Singh, he is up and down because I think he fully trusts the guru, but now he's like, oh, this guy's crazy. And I like to think that Dilbagh Singh is a good character, but he decides to stay. He sticks it out. Ganesh is chosen as their messenger, their leader, which for someone like Ganesh who's broken, that's the best thing for him to hear. But it's brilliant by the guru to choose Ganesh because he wants to use someone of his ability and of his experience to carry out the plan, so the guru doesn't have to compromise himself.
Yeah, see, but here's the thing. When I was thinking about this and I was watching it, I mean, Sartaj's father like willingly went on with this cult, you know what I'm saying? And not only after hearing that, you got to question his motivations as well. You know what I mean? I remember early on in season 1, how Sartaj's mother was like, your father was an honest man and he would never. And now you're like, well, wait a minute. Does she even really know who her husband was? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With that being said, dude, I don't know. For once, like, I love the first season and I love the first part of this season. But right now that Gaitonde is like more in a subservient role, I do not like it. You know what I mean? And I don't like the fact that, like, how could you just allow, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like I always figured he was stronger willed than that, but no, he's just went along with the rest of the followers. And later on, we find out that, other people think the same thing. You know what I mean? And I'm alluding to the last episode, but they're just like, yeah, you just, another follower. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, don't get too ahead of the game there. But I actually liked that decision by the showmakers to show, because no one person in the world is all the way awesome or all the way horrible or all the way good and without faults. And so this definitely shows, now obviously he has faults, but this shows his lack of self-confidence. And I feel like one thing that everyone has in common in the world is a lack of self-confidence. I can't think of anyone who has complete self-confidence. There are some that are really good at masking that, some that are really good at fooling others. And there are some that are definitely more deprived of self-confidence than others, but everyone has that issue. And again, he was just brought down to humility in every forefront. He thought that movie, as desperate as it was definitely going to remind people how awesome he was. And, oh, yeah, we love Gaitonde, but nobody cared. And so he completely turned to this guru. And like you said, I mean, he just completely submitted, and the guru knew exactly how to do it. And for the biggest thing with Gaitonde is he wanted a sign from the guru. He wanted to say, what am I thinking right now? What's going to happen? If you're so smart, tell me. And every single time the guru was able to fool him. The guru was able to use his intelligence to make him think that he knew what he was thinking. Right. And he just totally trapped him in that. But in this episode, I was telling them before you got on, I love this episode. In this episode, it's not just Gaitonde's story that I'm interested in. It's also Sartaj. So Sartaj is starting to withdraw. It's good for him. He's withdrawing from the pills he was taking, the gochi. And I was so happy with him being able to refuse the pills, but right. Eventually he gets busted after he goes after Bomsal too strongly. I still don't understand the Bomsal character. He's taken by Parolkar, and then Parolkar is backing off and now, saluting him and whatnot and apologizing. I'm not really sure what happened there. I was confused with all that, but in the same part, you have Sartaj. He becomes benched because they notice that he's taking drugs in his drug test or whatever. But eventually he comes face to face with Malcolm. Malcolm tells him to follow in his father's footsteps, and then Malcolm takes his own life. So I thought, well, that was kind of anticlimactic. I want someone go after Malcolm, not have Malcolm just take his own life.
Let me stop you right there. Your boy Sartaj is a horrible cop. Once again, back, I was gaining some respect for him, and then, bro, Malcolm could have popped them really easy if he wanted to. He got the drop on him once again. And I get it, he's coming off the drugs or whatever. But when will this guy, like, I don't need him to be super cop, but I need him to be a competent cop, okay? And they always get the drop on him. I thought Malcolm was going to ice him right then and there. Done. Good night, bro. But I guess he's just a bigger character, and we can't have
gotten the drop on everyone. Is there anyone in that police force or in that government force that understands what's happening? None of them do. Sartaj, I love his character because he is so relatable. He is so fallible. He makes mistakes. I'm so sick and tired of these movies and these TV shows where, the cop or the secret agent is untouchable. He can do whatever he wants. He walks in, walks out, no problem. I mean, sometimes it's laughable. This guy falls down. This guy makes mistakes, but his instincts is what is the most important thing in his character. His instinct told him to get out of that car, even with his broken thumb, and he's being benched and whatever. He got out of that car and he followed Malcolm into that alley. No one else was going there. No one else knew what was going on.
Right.
And we know in season 1 that he never really got a chance to be a cop because they kept benching him, so to speak, as well.
Right.
So I love this character because they don't have him do some bad things in the first episode that automatically he's awesome the rest of the series.
Right.
He is slowly progressing. And as we get to the end of the season, I feel like that progression has led him to make some of those better decisions on that last episode. But
bro,
not too much on this episode. Go ahead.
Quick question. Did we skip over, and I'm pretty sure we did, again, talking about how Malcolm is a gangster, how Malcolm went to the government lady's house, set the thing on fire, kills her husband.
That was an awesome scene. Wasn't that great? How Anjali and Yadav, they were ready to go. They knew what was going on, and they were going around their house. They weren't even stunned by the fire that was in the middle. They were just trying to take out everyone. That was a cool scene. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for Yadav, but I had a lot of respect for that character in that scene.
Bro, Malcolm is a straight gangster. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, that was not the end I expected for Malcolm after we seen how formidable he is and how many bodies he's caught. Like,
very
why take himself out? It was very anticlimactic. You're right. So, but anyway, I didn't want to gloss over that part. But yeah, that's pretty much this episode in a nutshell. Anything else important from this episode we missed?
No, that was the last thing I wanted to mention was about how Yadav and Anjali went out like a boss there, and they did the best they could. There's a question here from Shatij. He says, what is the difference between Pankaj Tripathi's performance in Mirzapur in this show? So I'll start off. So in Mirzapur, he's a completely different character. In this show, he is completely committed to being that smile on his face. I know what's going on. Very collected. In Mirzapur, he's very calm as well. I feel like he's always calm in all his roles besides Stree. He's a little more frantic in that role.
I know all things.
But they're still completely different characters. And it was really cool to see that digression, I guess, those differences, that contrast is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Because both these shows relatively came around the same time. So he's got his involvement in both these shows in some very large roles. And I thought he did a good job, but I'm going to go ahead a little bit to the end of one of my thoughts for the end of the season. I feel like as interesting as that character was, I feel like that was a misfire to have this season focus so much on the guru. For me, at least, the character didn't pan out enough, and it wasn't enough interest to follow 8 episodes on this character's story.
Right.
But that's just my personal opinion.
Look at the comments. Avicii Chan says a little bit too much Guru G, right? I agree.
Oh, there you go. I didn't even notice that. Awesome.
I agree. The difference between Guru G in this and then in Mirzapur Tripathi is the demeanor. Okay. And Mirzapur, he is a boss. He's a businessman, calculating, but he is not, without what's the word? He's not without morals, so to speak. It's all about business for him. Where here you could figure out Guru G's a nut. Okay. You want to start a war and kill everyone because the war is what? The world is bad. I mean, his it doesn't even make sense. And then on top of that, he gives you kind of like this creepy molester, sexual predator kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like vibe, man. The guy, would you leave your kids around him? No.
But I didn't take that vibe from him. I took him as mind control. His whole end game was the nuclear war. That was his entire end game. And as we get to a later episode, we get a whole lot of information on his past and where he gets that end game from. But I feel like everything he does is to make sure he has people in place that will not question his orders and that will carry those things out. And so, I mean, he's definitely creepy. He's definitely got that weird like smile at all times. But he's got an end game, and I don't think his end game is anything like a molester, but more like
I mean, that's just the vibe you get out of him. Obviously, that's not what happens moving forward in the season. But all right, moving on to episode 6.
All right. So episode 6/14, Azrael. In Islam and the Jewish traditions, Azrael is the angel of death. Gaitonde is the one to bring about Guruji's plans. So, and also, you can also think about the Azrael as the book that the Guruji has written that has a whole plan mentioned in it. And also, according to this website, it could be referring to Sartaj if he decides to join the ashram in the present day, because he gets approached. He meets up with Bhatya, and he takes the Gochi, and he's got his own demons that he's struggling with. You know, the thing I will say about Sartaj's character that is lacking is that we don't get too much on what he's thinking. We don't get too much on what his motivation is besides solving a crime. And we see in these flashbacks that he's still tackling the issue with his father and whether his father was someone good or bad. He's tackling the issue with Gaitonde and why did he choose him. But I would like to know a little more about what he's feeling. We get a lot on the ex-wife, and that's fine, but I'm not really interested in that relationship too much. I'm more interested on what is his motivation. Does he go to the ashram because he's investigating, or he's trying to find out more about his dad, or what? I wish we could have got a little more information on that, but he goes there and he is starting to investigate that. This episode was just okay for me. They, the Guruji and Gaitonde, they definitely get more meshed in their relationship.
Right.
Then the guru just pieces out. Doesn't die, he just disappears. We think he dies for a second, but he's not. I'm not sure why he pieces out. I'm not sure if he can be the puppet master to see if he can trust these people. And if they're not doing what he wants, then he'll make that step forward. But Bhatya comes in and she takes over that leadership role. And then you got the Gaitonde, where he goes back home. He's messing with Bunty, which I thought was really funny and comical, how he was calling him up and Bunty was getting frustrated.
Like, why would he even do that? But he's always treated Bunty like a little brother, kind of, you know what I mean? So he's like, you know, oh, my movie failed. Well, guess what? Your show sucks, you know, but he's masking his voice. So Bunty doesn't even know who it is. I thought that was super funny too. And I think that's what this season to me was missing a lot of, where in season 1, we got his relationship with his boys. And I know a couple of his boys have died since then, but we don't get that much in season 2, where we get a little bit of his humor, even if it's dark humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and, you know, Bunty, when we see him in the first season from Sartaj's and the police's point of view, he's a guy you don't mess with. I mean, he's a dangerous guy, even if he is in a wheelchair. But when you see him with Gaitonde, I mean, he still has that respect for him. He still bows down to him, so to speak. That is, it's really interesting to see that contrast. But that was really funny. It was interesting. I didn't notice the older makeup on Nawaz as much in the season 1 when he was that older character as I do in this season. I'm not sure if they laid it on thick, but he definitely looked older. He definitely looked like time had passed him by.
Yeah, it was 13 years once he came back.
Right, but we see him in Sartaj's time in the episode 1, right?
Right.
Not for a long time, but we see him talking to him. But I just noticed it a lot here. As the episode goes on, I'm just reading my notes. He realizes how massive the project is, and eventually he wants out.
That's why I was shocked you said that this is your least favorite episode, because you're always looking for that, you know, the arc, right? The redeeming character. And it's like, I actually like this part of it, because finally he's no longer under Guruji. He's back to being Gaitonde. He stands for what he believes in. And ultimately, he was a gangster because it was a way of life, okay? He wanted to make money. He wanted to be notable. But he's not a straight madman just trying to kill people, which, you know, now he figured out that's Guruji's plan. He wants no part of it, right? So I think that was his redemption, his redeeming quality, which I know you're always looking for. So I was like, wow, really? This was your least favorite episode?
Well, when I say that, there wasn't, I don't want to say a lot of meat because that's disrespectful, but there wasn't a lot of content in this episode. Right. There was a lot of kind of standing around and being reflective. I liked the part that he, you know, said, forget this plan, because I put in my notes that he's a patriot after all.
Right.
And he even says, I'm not sure if it's this episode or the next episode, he says, I don't care if you want to attack this city or that city, anywhere in India, I don't care, but not Bombay, not where I'm from, not my home. It's just not going to happen. He still feels like he is the king of that place, and you're not going to mess with it. And so I did like that. I like that he decides that he's a patriot of at least Bombay. But there just wasn't a lot going on in this episode, I guess is what I meant to say. I like that we got to see how he builds that bunker and he stockpiles everything up. But the thing that was confusing to me is, why is that bunker not underground, more hidden? I mean, it's in a random place from what it looks like, just outside, just this random concrete building. Okay, something's going on in there. Well, why not have it more hidden?
He said it was like Bunty's club or whatever. That was a failed club. So I'm assuming if it's going to club, it's going to have a entrance up top. But he built it basically as a bunker. Gotcha. And as a makeshift bunker, and because he also knows, which shows you how formidable what's the serial killer Malcolm is, because he's like, Malcolm's coming after me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so he's terrifying.
When he's worried about Malcolm, that's why I cannot believe they gave Malcolm that unceremonious end. I was so mad when that happened.
Well, not just that, but we don't see, and this isn't really a spoiler because I'm guessing everyone in here has seen the season, we don't see Malcolm ever come after Gaitonde. And I thought that was a big misfire for the show. I know you have to have him alive for him to end with Sartaj, but I'd rather him have ended in a fight with Gaitonde than with Sartaj. We see him go after Sartaj a few times. He cuts off his thumb in episode 8 of season 1. He goes after him and then he kills himself. Again, Malcolm's end was so anticlimactic because they built him up to be this informable foe that no one can take on. You want to see your two Goliaths go after each other.
I agree. So
it was a misfire.
That's what I thought. But anyway, this episode to me, it showed his humanity. Like you said, he's a patriot and he does love his home, and he ends up going back even though he knows what's going on or whatnot. He calls to try to get a hold of Guruji, and now you see that Bate's character doesn't want to let him talk to Guruji. He's like, oh, he's not here. Nobody can talk to him. Rivalry. She hangs up on him. Yeah, rivalry going up. Like, the two class pets. You know what I mean? Who's going to be the
daddy's affections?
Exactly. And towards the end of the episode, you see her go to Guruji and say, well, your elephant's out of control or something like that. So she's going to go and tattle. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, she's such a snake. I hate her so much. But you know what? She's done a good job.
Yeah, no, she's a really good actress. And someone said she was underused. I thought she was used enough in this show. She's very likable as far as an actress goes. She's annoying in this show, I think. But I completely understand her point of view because they are so close to that end game. I mean, this has been building for so long. I forget what they call it, like Sutra Yaga or something like that. They've been waiting so long for this period to happen. And the person who's supposed to be the commander of this whole plan is saying, I want to speak to him right now or I'm done with this whole thing. That would be pretty alarming. And I'm surprised the guru doesn't freak out more. He's so confident. He's just like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
I'll talk to him. Basically, is the thing. I'll take care of him. I've got him, I'm the puppet master. I have him, in my web. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Anything else important happen in this episode? Like you said, a lot doesn't happen. Conversation. He does finally meet up with his entire old crew that's still left there.
Cool. I like to see Matthew with his, he's got little hair left, and they did a good job with the makeup on all those guys.
What's the lady's name? I forget her name. The one that was original part of his crew, and he comes back and he says, "Oh, I thought you'd be dead by now."
Oh, yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, I'm gonna outlive you."
Did you miss me at all? Not at all.
And those interactions is what was missing. You know what I mean, from this season, I should say in general. I love the first season and his interaction with his crew on the day-to-day basis. Him, Bunty. I can't remember the name of the two Muslim brothers that he ends up killing in season 1, but here you basically just had him and his one boy from the very first. I can't pronounce his name. Mukata from season 1. Remember the one that ends up in Africa with him.
Matthew,
right? Matthew, and that's it. You know what I mean? All the other characters are like just, I don't know, background or whatnot. But that's pretty much this episode.
All right, so episode 15, Torino. I love that title because it makes me think of that awesome movie, Gran Torino, with Clint Eastwood. That is such a good movie. But Torino, aka Turin, is the city situated in the Piedmont region of northwestern Italy, and it's rumored to have magic involved there. There's two rivers in Turin that symbolize, and they form a Y. They symbolize the duality of man, good versus evil. And so we have both leads in this episode fighting with their own duality of good versus evil. Do I join the ashram? Do I not? Do I join this plan? Do I not? They're both going through that. I personally don't buy Sartaj's conflict with that choice. I personally don't. I was waiting for him to be like, surprise, I got you. I'm just here to infiltrate you and get information. But I don't feel like that's what was happening. So I don't really buy that too much. But that Torino alludes to the decision they have to make. And then one thing that I guess would somewhat explain Sartaj's motivation is he's coming off that Gochi, so the parent really kicking in, and so obviously he's not going to be in his right mind. But what are your thoughts about episode 15/7?
Dude, my boy Gaetonde became Gaetonde again. I loved it.
Great episode.
I loved it. You know, he goes to meet at the very beginning of the episode. He goes to meet with Guruji. And, you know, because Guruji, like you said, he thinks I got this handled. I'll just talk to him and whisper sweet nothings into his ear, and he's going to do what I tell him to do. And Gaetonde, like you said, tells him, listen, anywhere else but Mumbai, they get into a little argument. It's funny because he starts telling Gaetonde about how he killed his own wife and he killed all his wives. And basically it's all his fault. What happened to his wife, what happened to Cuckoo. Then he killed his mother. You know, he's just saying how he's destructive basically to everyone in the world, that in his world, everyone who's around him. And then he gets Gaetonde worked up, and I don't think he expected happening what was going to happen. But that's why my boy Gaetonde came back. I love it. I love it. And
that was awesome. That was. I mean, he was just, I am. I mean, and it was crazy how like they had the GoPro angle of him going around and the way he was thinking, and like the lighting changed until it didn't go back until he gets back to his bunker. But yeah, that was I mean, long time coming for sure.
In my head, I was like, did he really kill him, or was this in his head? Because you know he's on the Gochi or whatnot, or coming off the Gochi. So did this really happen? But no, he killed him, bro.
Okay, but let's talk about that for a second. There's no way you get suffocated by a book. I'm sorry, there's no way, because there's too many cracks with the spine and everything. There's no way you can fully, unless you have one whole flat end on there. And I'm not trying to have a tutorial on how to suffocate someone. I wouldn't have no idea. But for me, at least, that kind of took me out a little bit. It was just like, at least have it like on one side of the book, not in the middle of the crack where the spine's at. But anyways, it was cool to see that happen. The greatest thing that revealed that we got to answer our question from our last live stream, who is Trivedi? We find out in this episode who Trivedi is. And Arjit, you were correct. It's not that little spineless guy that we see dead at the end of season 1. It's who?
Whoa. It is, isn't it?
No.
He ends up in the basement.
No, remember, he's watching his movie. Gaetonde is watching his own movie that he made that bombed. And then Sartaj, he needs to find out more about his dad. And he is trying to find out where this book is at, because he's got his mind all messed up with the ashram and Bhatya. So he breaks into the evidence locker. Right. That was a cool scene, how he's way out of it, but he's fighting off these guys getting out of there. Gets the guy's gun from behind him and gets his way out. But he sees that movie in the evidence locker. So he watches it. And in the movie, they refer to Gaetonde's father as Trivedi.
Oh, yeah.
And he realizes that his father is Trivedi, that Trivedi won't die. His father's not going to. His father's been alive this entire time, is this way old guy living out in some village who's had the book the entire time.
Right.
So we find out that he's Trivedi.
Okay, so now I'm confused, because I thought that Trivedi, remember how, well, we're jumping ahead to the next episode, but all right, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
I think the other guy was referred to as Trivedi as well, but not the one that Gaetonde was mentioning when he says everyone will die but Trivedi.
Oh, there's two Trivedis. Okay, I got you. Because I was like, in the subtitles, it also said Trivedi, so I was just thinking that was his father. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So I love this episode a lot, because there's a lot that we finally get information on, not just the Trivedi thing, but the fact that Gaitonde felt bad for his dad, so he sent him the book. His dad is just like, I don't care about this book. You can go ahead and take it, Sartaj. It means nothing to me. There's even a note in for. He's like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. That guy means nothing to me. There's so much that we learn. We see the thing that I was confused about, really confused, and this is going way to the end of the episode, is Sartaj gets the book. He has it in his possession. He's walking to his car, and then these people pick him up. They're from the ashram. They're from Bhatia. How in the world they could not find this book this entire time? How in the world do they know where to look unless they were following him or they had some kind of homing beacon on him? How do they know where he was going to be at to pick him up in the first place? Because they did not know where that book was at for all these years.
Got him again, bro. Your boy is such a bad cop, bro. How did he not know he was being followed? And then again, they throw the bag over his head. I mean, dude, this guy.
But the bag was pointless. You can see through it, for crying out loud.
They end up taking him back to the same temple, like he doesn't know where he's at.
The bag the entire time. What was the point of that?
I don't know. But I'm like, of course, that's it's I guess it's a plot device. It needed to happen basically because when he ends up getting back there, now he's confronted again with Bhatia. I can never say her name. Bhatia. And dude, she's really conniving. She's turned really conniving. And their Guruji is dead, and you think that they would mourn him more and think, oh, this plan all failed. They like
the student has become the teacher, and she is still drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, she's still going to the fridge and saying, oh, there's still some Kool-Aid left. Let me drink some more.
she still wants to blow stuff up, man. She's just like, she's reckless, bro.
But again, she's committed to it. These people are psychotic, but they're committed to what they're committed to. I don't want to get into that whole, dangerous terrorist type conversation. I'm not trying to say I look up to those people, but the commitment, there's too many times in this world, people who feel about good things, they committed to good things that they don't follow through. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to go into in a dangerous place there.
Got you.
But this was an interesting episode. There was things that were revealed, but even when this episode ended, I'm like, okay, episode 8 better be awesome. Because this is it that we have so far. And I feel like there's still so much more, not to mention the nuclear war. Like, are we ever going to get to that? Is that going to be brushed aside for the next season? Because it better not be, because it's been leading up to it. So that takes us into episode 8/16, Radcliffe. And the Radcliffe boundary is the demarcation line between India and Pakistan. Right. I wish I would have known that before I went into this episode. It makes a lot of sense. And then we get this. So we get this story. We get this flashback, 1947, and we see that Shahid Khan, who we haven't really mentioned at all in this review, he is the main bad guy of the Hizbuddin, and he's the one who's setting up the nuclear bomb. So obviously him and Guruji are in cahoots. And so, and not just that, but Gaitonde could have taken out Shahid Khan a long time ago, but chose not to. So that's an interesting choice.
Right.
And not just that, but Yadav wanted Shahid Khan taken out. So anyways, there's a lot of implications there. But we get this story about this girl who the family's escaping. I'm guessing they're escaping Pakistan or India during some kind of unrest time. I want to say 47 is close to the time that India got their independence. So maybe there was some craziness going on in that. But anyways, this girl's looking for her dog or something, goes out of her car, and she gets picked up by these people, kidnapped and taken.
Right.
We find out that one of those daughters is the mother of Shahid Khan. I didn't put the connection to it until I read this from the website, so I'm not going to take credit for this. But I didn't make the connection that Sartaj's mother, she looks at the picture for a second. She is the sister of that girl, or she is the girl that was taken away, but they are sisters.
Oh, wow.
So I did not. Khan and Sartaj are directly related in that connection.
I did not get that at all.
Neither did I. And I was thinking something along those lines because, again, they show Sartaj's mom looking at a picture. But was I supposed to get that from that? I don't know if there was other clues in there, but thank goodness for this article that led it to me, because that would have been interesting to know as I'm watching it, and a little more clarity on that fact.
Right, because they give it to you at the beginning, but you don't even know how it ties in, because right after that happened, it comes back to right to modern day, because our timelines had finally converged for the most part. We're almost right on top of each other. So I was like, how does this even fit? And I was confused about that. I was going to ask in the comments, but I guess you got the answer for me, so that'll work. Thanks, brother.
So this episode, I've got to say, it was interesting. It was entertaining. It was good TV, but it wasn't my favorite episode by far. There was not just because the way it ends, but this episode really, there's a lot that they rest on it. So in a show like this, where they give us basically nothing, they keep giving us confusing things for the first 6 episodes, a lot of questions, no answers, and they save all those answers for the last 2 episodes. Sometimes the first 14 episodes, no answers until here. You really got to deliver. And I don't feel like this episode delivered. It was very interesting. It reminded me of like a 24 type episode in some ways, but it fell flat for me because the whole JoJo story, I thought that was horrible.
I was
did
so
not
angry.
understand that decision. Did you?
Well,
I mean, she was being a punk to him and she was ticking him off, but I don't buy that he would have taken her out.
Well, she would betrayed him the entire time. That's what I understood, right? She was betraying.
I don't even know if I believe that though, because she's so standoffish and she's so rude to him and so hateful to him that I mean, maybe that's the point. That yes, she was in cahoots the entire time, but how do we know 100% that she's not just lying to him just to, poke at him some more?
I mean, for me, let's rewind a little bit, right? In the beginning of the episode, right, you have him down in his bunker and his boy kidnaps the other Trivedi, basically brings him down there. And that's why I thought like that was a Trivedi that we were referring to, but I forgot we mentioned his dad was up in the mountains, was also Trivedi. Anyways, guy tries to poke him with the knife or whatnot. And he's like, don't ever start something you can't even finish. He dismisses him, goes to sit down on his computer, and the guy still tries to poke him with the knife. So they tie him up in a chair. So then the guy starts telling him, listen, who were you? You think you're the king, but you're not Amarasha. I can't remember the very first title from episode 1. You're not, I think the demon son is whatever it's called. You're basically Guruji's gopher. You're one of his followers. You're one of his disciples, but you're nobody. And he's talking smack to him while he's tied up in a chair. And here goes that Gaitonde rage, which I love. He grabs a crowbar and beats. Done. Good night, cousin. It's over for you. All right. And that was again, I like that part because it showed that his character right away. Then after that, a whole scene happens. We figure out how he ends up in the basement there or whatnot. He ends up calling a number, and I'm like, who's he calling? He calls Isa, and Isa is like, oh, it's good to know that you're still alive. He said, come to Mumbai. It's hot out here, but the chicken is good or the meat is good, something like that. He said, and Guy somedays like, you're gonna protect me. You're dying of cancer, and he's like, I forgot what he said, something to the effect of, don't say it too loudly, or basically the gods will come after you or whatever. But he asked Isa, did you kill Sharuba? I cannot remember the name. And he said, I killed many a women, but I never killed Sharuba. I didn't kill Cuckoo. You did that yourself. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, you start realizing that everybody's been conspiring against him the whole time, including JoJo. And I'm like, what? Like, I
don't buy it. And there's some good comments right here from Shaitan. He says that I think JoJo lied about betrayal because she wants to die, which makes a lot of sense because the entire time she's trying to kill herself, which we find out the reason why is because she feels so guilty for what she did to her sister, Mary, who they show a very short story earlier on about how her sister, they're both actresses that were failing. Her sister finally fell in love with a person in the industry. And so her career was finally starting to go forward. They were at a party. JoJo was so jealous about it that she started sleeping with the boyfriend. And Mary finds out. And JoJo didn't expect Mary to commit suicide because of what she did.
And so head her off the building.
She's torturing herself for all these years. She's been trying to take herself out because of her penance, but she can't do it. So I like that comment that maybe she lied because she wanted to die. But, and not just that, but when she's on the floor, she has a perfect chance to beg for her life if she wanted to still live. What does she do? She taunts him some more.
Yeah. Which goes back to episode 1. Now we're full circle. We've caught up to episode 1, and I'm like, oh, that's why he killed her. But still, I prefer your version of it, that she didn't betray him all this time, and that there wasn't this whole elaborate hoax. Because if it was, then Gaitonde, you can't kind of give him as much credit as we do. You know what I mean? They all pulled the wool over your eyes.
Not just that, remember the guru's in Nawaz's ears the entire time, telling him she's lying, they're lying, this or that. Don't listen to him. And he's just so frustrated that the voices in his mind. He's off the Gochi. I mean, his level of paranoia is at the highest. But still, even with all the explanation, it doesn't do enough to satisfy me with what happened, because I like that JoJo character a lot. But so we get to the end, and this is where I said it kind of was like a 24 feel, because you have Shahid Khan. He sets up the bomb. I mean, he does a whole Joker thing. He shoots up everyone that's on his side to make sure no one messes us up. This guy's committed. He goes to his table across the street, speak in the adjacent building, making sure that nothing happens. The police, they're torturing his right-hand man to get information. They find out where the bomb's at. They get there, and Shahid Khan is their sharpshooter. He's ready to take him out, which I thought was a brilliant plan. I really like that from the showrunners of this show, setting that up. This guy is not going to let anything happen. And then you have, the police coming in. Sartaj, he's finally out of the ashram. He's got somewhat of a clear head. He goes to help out. And I'm going to fast forward to the very end, and then you can backtrack as much as you want. But what I want to say is, when Sartaj is there and everyone's left on the helicopter and they're gone, we tried. There's nothing we can do. We only have 5 chances, and we have no idea what the picture code is. Sartaj goes to the book, and he sees all the pictures, and he's looking at his dad. He's tried different ones. He's on his last chance. He sees his dad's. He sees Gaitonde's. I did like the fact that he had to choose. Would it be my dad? Which, if it is my dad's picture, why would that be? That's heartbreaking. Gaitonde's picture. Gaitonde tells him that Dilbag Singh is the only guy you can trust. And so he puts in the code for his dad's picture from the book, and then the episode just ends? Are you kidding me? I don't think you should do that to your audience. I honestly think that's a slap in the face. I'm not going to say that, they're being hateful. I don't like that decision. I think that's a weak and a cheap move. Let us know. Give us a sound. Give us something to let us know if that worked or not, instead of having to wait a year, or with this whole Corona nonsense, maybe 2 years until we get any kind of clarification. I mean, you got to be kidding me. They're going to end on that.
Bro, the last few shows that I've watched that I really, really like have ended on cliffhangers, and it drives me crazy. I know they want to build that intrigue for the next season, okay, but come on, are you kidding me? You're right, they should have given us something. But think about the Umbrella Academy on Netflix, okay? That ended on a major cliffhanger.
I'm not a fan of that kind of ending. I'm not. I
agree with you.
Give me a story, you got to complete that story to a certain degree. I don't need to know what every single side character did after that. I don't need to see 20 years later. But if you start a story, I want you to complete a story, or at least tell me beforehand the story starts, this is a story that you're not going to get to the end to. Give me some, because I think that's messed up. I really do.
I could see the rage, because after I watched this episode, and I finished it today. I was doing some running around, finished this today, and now I know what they're hate for. I don't think, because if you take it in a vacuum, forget about the last 5 minutes of the episode, but in a vacuum, this show does not deserve, season 2 does not deserve the hate it was getting, that it was bad. Was it as good as season 1? No, absolutely not. Okay. But seldom shows are. But what they did here, this is just like The Sopranos at the end. Does Tony get shot? Does he not get shot? And I don't know why.
You mention The Sopranos in every video we do, man.
That angers me. That was one of the worst endings of network television history, man. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Give us closure. We need closure. Okay. They might think, oh, let's do this like that. Like that, they'll come back next season. But right now, next season may be a very long time if you haven't already finished filming this thing. You know what I mean? Because everything is delayed. But it did make me angry. I wanted to go back talking about JoJo for a minute, and something else that we kind of glossed over. And I mean, again, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, but again, one of the things that got me angry is we see where the money came from, right? And what does Gaitonde say? This is your insurance policy, basically. So I'm like, how could you betray him? You're the one person he trusts. I was so angry about that reveal, but it's because they pulled the wool over my eyes and I didn't see it coming. So I hope that they just stick to their guns and say, no, she was, this is what happened. Don't go and backtrack it next season and say, because, you probably got some rage from them, the rest of the audience, and say, oh, no, the whole time, she's just doing it because she wanted to lie. She wanted to die, but she didn't betray him. She was loyal to him. Just let it be one of those situations where it is what it is. This is the choice you made. Go ahead and stick with it, because I didn't see it coming. I didn't think JoJo was going to betray him. Anybody but JoJo. As a matter of fact, in the end, the one person who told him the truth and one person who's trying to, like you said, protect him was Issa, his mortal enemy. And then he kind of I don't know. He just like lets Esau slide. Like, wow, that was just I don't
Yeah,
know.
we didn't get any kind. You're right. That's a great point. We didn't get any kind of closure on the Issa story. We find out he has cancer. Okay, can we at least get like a nugget that Gaitonde sent him some information or sent him something that gave him radiation that gave him the cancer? They're saying in the comment section there is no season 3. Now this is based on a book, right? I want to give credit to the book because this is where the whole story comes from, and overall, it is a great story. This is by Sacred Games, the book written by Vikram Chandra, and so I have not read the book, but they're saying that there's no season 3. That surprises me. Again, it's the whole Inception idea. Did he make it home? Did he not make it home? I'm not saying it's a bad film technique. I'm saying my personal opinion. I need to have a little bit of closure if I dedicate 8 hours, 16 hours of my life to a certain show.
Arjit with the super chat right there. Thank you, Arjit.
Arjit, let's see. It's up to us to decide if the world deserves saving. Arjit, I understand, but I can't. My mind is too small. It's unwilling to think that way.
But here's the thing: if this is true, and this is where the book ends, let it go right here, because we've already seen what happens with shows when showrunners run out of source material and then they try to do something creative, like think for themselves. And Game of Thrones season 8, thank you very much. Okay, dude. It's like they don't know where to go from it. So if this is it, then let it be it, because I could just see them ruining it. If this is all the source material they have, whenever they try to get too creative and think for themselves, man, they just ruin things. Especially if this is how the story was meant to end. I could see that. Where do we think the world deserves a chance? Because again, it's India, right? Pakistan would be. Think about it. They both have different allies. We're allies with India. China would get involved as well, right? Pakistan and China. So, I mean, it's going to turn into a global war. Everybody's going to die if you really think about it. So, it's not just even for Mumbai, if you think about it. It's for the whole world. I did like, by the way, look in the episode how originally they were telling people it was going to be, what was it, a hurricane or
tsunami?
A tsunami. Like the government's lying. But what are they supposed to do? Oh, there's a nuclear bomb here?
What happened when the information got out? All chaos. Everything broke loose. There was traffic in the streets. I mean, didn't it remind you of just a small microcosm? Maybe our world is a microcosm of that. Our world hasn't gotten that bad yet. But I feel like the way and I like seeing the government officials argue with each other. Like, you failed, Joseph. I put you in charge of this and you failed. And he's like, what are you talking about? No one else could have saved this. We are trying the best that we can. Right. But if it was me, if I was in charge of the government, I would have told certain cities, I'm not sure how you keep it under wraps, but I would have told certain cities, you go, or certain places, you go first and you go first, or I don't know how you would do it. Now, I do like this comment from Abe. He says, does a book have an ending? Someone read it because we want to know if what happened in the show happened in the book. That reminded me of something you would say. Someone read it and let me know.
There's another super chat up there from
your boy Shatij.
What do you guys think the main reason for the season not being that good is? For me personally, I think that you got away from Gaitonde's character when you started having him be this subservient guy early on, or not early on, but after he meets Guruji. But he redeemed himself at the end. Okay. The last 2 episodes, he kills Guruji, he kills Trivedi in the bunker. You see who Gaitonde is once again, that gangster we fell in love with in the first season. However, why do people not like this season? The ending, man. People need closure, especially if this is it. Like, oh, come on.
So let me tell you some of my reasons. So we'll get to our grade and then we'll get to this question a little more in depth. So as far as a grade, now I'm going to grade just season 2. Season 1 I thought was fantastic. I loved just about everything about it. This season I really enjoyed episodes 2 through 5 quite a bit. 6 and 7 weren't bad. Again, episode 8 was entertaining. And someone mentioned earlier that Sartaj's father's pattern was the actual Radcliffe line between India and Pakistan. So I thought that was pretty cool. So if the episode's called Radcliffe and that was a Radcliffe line, then we were supposed to assume that, yes, he saved the city. That was the correct pattern. So I liked that comment. Thanks so much. There was a few people that made that comment. But for me, this season is not as good as season 1. I don't think this season is crap, like we were told many times, and they use different words than crap, words that I don't usually like to say. I'm not old enough to say it. But this season is not that. This season still is forward thinking. This season still has a lot of depth to it. It has a few characters that we focused on, some minor characters. But my biggest problem with this season is, and it goes back to season 1 too, because they start everything off in season 1. I don't feel like the characters that we spent so much time with got the rightful exit. I'm talking about Malcolm. I'm talking about Guruji. I'm talking about Bhatia. I'm talking about Gaitonde, even though we know what happens to him in the first. I'm talking about Jojo. There's so many characters that we spend so much time with and that we get their backstories and we're invested in, and they either have no ending to their story or the ending is just not good enough, in my opinion. And I am such a character person. Everything is character driven for me. That's where it lets down. And that goes to the answer to Shatish's question. Thanks again for that super chat. We really appreciate that support. But that's for, and Issa, we don't get any kind of conclusion on this guy besides, oh yeah, he has cancer. I feel like if I was writing this story for the movie or the show, I would feel disappointed in myself that I went out that way, that I went out in a cheap way, because I wanted to focus on this element and that element, and I just kind of pushed the other things to the side. I don't mind if every character doesn't have an arc, but if you're going to have me focus so much time on a character, I want it to be worth it, you know?
Right. Well, I think that ultimately we did get to see an arc, but it was not the wrong arc, but the person that you didn't expect. The arc we did end up seeing at the end of the day was Gaitonde. All right. He went from this gangster that just cared about himself, wanted to be famous. You know, at one point, even when he first goes to India, he starts working for I forget her name, the government lady out of, right. She's talking about how he should help her because they're trying to stop this terrorists from attacking India. And he's like, India is not my problem. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? And now to the end where, no, not in Bombay, not my home. You know what I mean? So he had that arc there. He, yes, I'm a gangster. Yes, I've killed tons of people, but I'm not a kind of guy who just am going to kill blindly and murder millions or let millions die, basically. So he had an arc there. For me, I think the story's incomplete, but I cannot be... I've killed so many, and I'm going back to being a comic book fan here. I've killed so many directors when they stray away from the source material, okay? Because they want to put their own spin on it, or they don't like the ending themselves, or they don't like the character arc. So if this is true to the book, then you got to respect that. He's being the director's being true to the original novelization. Obviously, people liked it enough to get it greenlit to become a movie, or not a movie, but a series, right? So I respect that. Is it the ending I prefer? No, I think we all need closure. However, I do agree with you, Nick. Come on. You build up some of these characters so big, and they had unceremonious endings for the most part, most of them, that I'm like, really? Come on, Trivedi. I wanted to know more about Trivedi, and we find out the one Trivedi in his basement was just one of the other guys from the cult that was trying to get there to get the book or whatnot. He ends up killing him because he starts talking smack to him, and then we got Trivedi, who's his father, who is off away. We find out that which was interesting as well, and I don't even think they came back to touch on that his father, who he thought was his father, his first father, right? The holy man wasn't even his father, you know what I mean? And he agonized so much about that because he ended up killing his mom because his father was, or his mom was a floozy, right? And that could have used a little bit more closure. I just felt that there were a lot of loose ends. That's why.
Why do you say his father was not his father? I didn't pick up on that.
Well, because his father, remember the guy in the
priest, right?
The priest. Yeah. That was his father, or at least he kept calling him his father. But that wasn't his real father. He was the bastard child of the other Trivedi.
No, the other Trivedi is that same priest guy.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, let us know in the comments, but that's the way I understood it, that the other Trivedi, so his priest father, we always just assume that he went to jail for the rest of his life. He died in jail or something, but he actually survived. They mentioned that a few times. He was just in jail. He always visits him in this season imaginarily And his father's like, you sent me here. You were the one that killed your mom and all that kind of stuff. You should be here, not me. But he survived through all that. Eventually, he got out of jail. So that's the way I understood it, that was his father. That was Trividi, but he just never died after Gay killed the mom. He went to jail because of it.
Did we watch both seasons back to back? No. In between both seasons, we saw The Family Man, and then we saw what was the other one, Nick? Mizapar. Right.
Come on, man.
So
Come on.
I know Mizapar. Old Guy's his real father. See, the old guy's his real father. So they're two different people. At least that's what I understood.
Yeah, that's the old guy. That's the priest. That's the priest grown up, all older.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
All right. So I only ever got to my grade. So my grade for season 2, I'm going to give it a solid B because I liked a whole lot of it. I really did. The acting is fantastic. The characters are good. I don't like the way they got ended. I do like the Sartaj character in that story arc. If he does save the day, then look at that. This bumbling guy that you keep making fun of, he saved the day. He was able to sacrifice himself, even though he's still withdrawing, and he's going back and he's trusting his father. He's trusting what Gaitonde said. Dilbag Singh is a guy you can trust. I wanted more information on Dilbag Singh too. I got nothing on what he was doing at the Ashram this entire time. I wanted to see him do something, and so I wasn't too happy about that. So for me, it's a solid B.
I'm right around you. I'm gonna give it a B minus. Again, some of those loose ends really kept it from being better, but Gaitonde's acting is amazing. Even Guruji, to see him play Tripathi and Mizupar to now this character here, again, this creepy cult leader, manipulative dude, like this guy's got some acting range, man. I'm telling you. I said it's not the kind of guy I'd leave alone with my kids. All right, he's super, super creepy, super, super weird. He did a good job with that. I enjoyed the character who played Batalha. I know we saw her before in Gully Boy as well. She did a really good job. I think she was underused a little bit, but for me, it kept from being an A because you got to give us closure, and we did not get closure on so many storylines. If you guys are correct that it was the line between Sartaj's father and Pakistan, so that was the correct code, then okay, maybe it gets bumped up to like an A minus, but as it stands, for me right now, it's a B minus.
Oh, you went below me. All right. I'm not always the hateful guy here. I love it.